Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another video. And before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank our very first sponsor, which is Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet is the compact, modern, minimalist wallet. It holds 12 cards and also a bunch of cash. I've been using it for the last, couple of weeks, and I absolutely love it. The quality is outstanding. I have the forged carbon one. It's got their little engraving in the back for the cash clip, and you get so much in the box. You get spare screws, a screwdriver to help you screw those in case something happens for whatever reason, stickers, pamphlets, all that good stuff. If you want to pick up your own Ridge wallet, go ahead and visit the link in the description, type in NBC at checkout, and get 10% off your first purchase. All right, guys, let's have an honest conversation. How many times have you heard a photographer or a videographer say, "I like to create something out of nothing," and then immediately say afterward, "I like capturing that moment"? The problem is that you can't do both of these things because they're conflicting statements. You cannot, as a photographer, create something out of nothing. It is just inherently impossible. Hold on, let me explain. So, I can write a song for somebody because I love them, and I can do that out of the ether, out of thin air. But you can't do that. Like, you can't create a photograph because you're inherently always documenting something. If you think about cameras and what they're designed to do, they're just taking pictures, which means that you are documenting a specific moment or you're trying to capture a feeling, but you're not creating, you're always documenting. And so I think that photographers get in this really weird place where they think that they are creating something out of nothing. You know, web designers, graphic designers in general, when you go open up Photoshop or Illustrator, it's literally a blank screen. And then you pull assets in to be able to create something that you can visually see. That is creating. Us as photographers, we have to always have a subject to document, whether that be a landscape, a house, a product, a person. You're always still documenting whatever's happening. And I think that we need to break this really weird notion that like we can create something out of nothing. And instead, if we focus more on how do I document this moment, this scene, whatever it is, with purpose and a way to convey an emotion or a story, then I think that's going to help us in our photography. So there are a few ways that you can do this, and this applies to all genres, whether you're a photographer, a videographer, a drone pilot. If you're any one of these things where you need to capture a moment, you can do this. So let's start with photography because it's one of the things that are close to my heart. With photography, let's start with portraits. So portraits, how do you convey a story in portraits? Now, sometimes the scene can be set up already and you're just documenting it, like a lifestyle shot, like that can be done. But how do you give more context? I see a lot of people who take these really wide shots, but they have like beautiful backgrounds and it's like the person's like this big, but then everything else is like the scenery. Well, here's the thing. If you spend a little bit more time and shoot a couple more things in that scene, you might be able to build even more context to the story. So you could start with doing things like jewelry. If the person is wearing jewelry, like a watch, a necklace, things like that, you could photograph that in a way that's more like product style, but you add that into your collage. Next could be things like clothing, like you could do shoes, shirt, pants, whatever, you could do that. If you're in a really beautiful area and you want to show that area, you could shoot things like, the greenery around them, the trees or whatever to help build that context. When you bring this all together into a collage, you're telling a really detailed story. And I think it's going to be more impactful than just a single image. Now let's say you're doing this for drift. Well, how do you do that for drift? Because drift is all about cars just moving. Well, you can do the same concept. If your A-roll is the cars actually drifting on the track and getting lines, then you should be going to the pits when they go back to the pits and capturing them changing out tires, talking to other drivers, maybe even sitting at the line, whatever the case may be, you're still building context to this entire story. A photograph of a car drifting is awesome. A series of photographs that explain the day of that driver is even more impactful. And you could convey a really good emotion depending on when you decide to capture. You need to start thinking of not just as a drift media, but also as a journalist. You are inherently always documenting a scene in a way that's going to be impactful. All right, so then what about video? How do you do that? Well, video is a little bit easier because when you're videoing and documenting, you are inherently going to always have a way to build that story even in a single scene. However, let's start with portraits. Again, the same thing applies like we did in photography. You video things like the jewelry, the clothing, the scenes around them. I usually go and default to things like videoing branches or leaves, maybe like me walking, them walking, their shoes. You build so much context into this one thing. I remember one time I went out and did a shoot for a sportswear company, and then I was like, I want to do a video here because this is like really awesome. And we did it, and I only took 3 clips, but I was able to make a 45-second video out of 3 clips. And it was the same 3 clips. You just have to arrange them in a way that makes sense. So then the next group of people is drone pilots. How do we do this with drones? Because like we are always piggybacking GoPros. GoPros are inherently like niche products, right? Always fixed wide lenses, fixed apertures, very little control. What can we do? Well, what I used to resort to doing is all those times where I'm just flying around the track, that builds context, right? It builds that story. So you could start your drone shot by maybe you're flying out onto the track and you're just following the track rather than following a car. Maybe you're going around orbiting around the pits, doing slow cinematic pans around the pit area, around the track area. Worrying about like, instead of trying to track a car as 2 cars are tandeming together, you could essentially just fly directly over them really slow and let them pass underneath you. You can build so much context with just a drone. The thing is, you have to think about that too. You can't just worry about getting close to cars and only shooting cars, because then when you put together your video, every song that you use will always have a low part. So you want to be able to use different shots for different parts of the song. Now, next one is sound. I like to use music that conveys an emotion in my head or in my heart when I hear it. So usually like the melody will sing to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, I can definitely build a video. Like for me, the way I go about making my videos is before I even record anything, I'll hear a song and then I'll immediately start thinking like, yeah, this scene and then this scene and this shot and then this shot. And by the time the song is halfway done, I'm like, got my video, let's go do this. And that's kind of how I explain to a lot of the interns here at the church of how to create videos is like I hear a song, I build the entire video out in my head, and then I go shoot it. And some people can't work like that, and that's okay. But what I'm saying is that the song is the thing that's going to dictate how your work feels. One of my favorite videos I've made recently is the DriftCon 2021/Pro AM Round 5 video. And I remember having people message in and say, this is the best video I've seen of the year because of the way that it's documented, the way that it feels. It just feels like I'm reliving this day. And as a videographer, you want this comment. This is like what you want to strive for. As a drone pilot, I no longer try and go for like, I'm going to be the pilot that gets the closest, or I'm going to be the pilot that gets the smoothest shot. What I'm trying to do is, out of all the runs that I do I have enough to be able to make a 3 to 5 minute video that encompasses the entire day? And then I'll worry about individual runs later. I was so focused on like getting the perfect run that I would neglect the entire point of me being there, which is to create this really awesome recap. Because aside from people wanting footage of their cars, the track wants a full recap of the whole day. And if you're constantly going after cars and not giving the rest of the track day, then there's not much there. It's all superficial. So you really want to focus in on getting that ground footage, getting that side stuff that brings in people into the video and gives that round circle of context. So I hope that this video has helped in being able to talk to you guys about like the notion, the wrong statement of I can create something out of nothing, and really focusing on like how to bring in like more images and more storytelling to the work that you do in order for your viewers to understand how you feel or how the scene is supposed to feel. This is the point of photography, videography, is to document. We are inherently the people that document history. Take advantage of that saying. You are the ones that help show the future people what it was like in the past. And I take that very seriously, and I love that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you again to our sponsor, Ridge Wallet. Please stay tuned for more videos like this. If you like it, leave a like down below, leave a comment, and I will catch you guys in the next one.